I thought chasing youth would save me. I thought stepping away from the man who gave me everything would bring back the spark I'd lost somewhere between bills, responsibilities, and the reflection in the mirror I barely recognized anymore. But betrayal doesn't just destroy the person you walk away from, it consumes you too. Today, as I sit in an empty apartment staring at old photographs, I realize I traded love for a fleeting thrill. And while I'm drowning in loneliness, he's moved on, stronger, happier, and loved in ways I never imagined. It started innocently enough, just a feeling, a restless whisper in the back of my mind. I was 38 years old, standing in front of the mirror one morning, tugging at the fine lines forming around my eyes. The woman staring back at me didn't feel like the girl I once was, the girl who used to laugh at midnight, who could dance until dawn, who believed love was endless and intoxicating. Instead, I was a wife, a mother, and a partner bound to routine. My husband, Daniel, was steady, too steady maybe. He woke up early every morning, brewed the same coffee, and left for work with a kiss on my cheek. We had been married for over a decade, and somewhere along the way, our marriage had slipped into something functional, not passionate. He loved me, I knew that, but love had turned into a quiet background hum, not the music that once swept me off my feet. I blamed him for the silence, though deep down I knew it wasn't just him. It was me. I was searching for something I couldn't name. I started lingering at the gym longer than usual, letting myself laugh a little louder when younger men made passing jokes. I didn't cross a line, not at first. But I wanted to feel noticed again, wanted to feel like I still had the power to make heads turn. That's when I met Alex. He was only 27, a new trainer at the gym, charismatic, charming, reckless in the way only youth can be. He flattered me. He made me feel alive again. His compliments weren't subtle, they cut straight into the insecurities I carried, and for the first time in years, I felt seen, not as a wife, not as a mother, but as a woman. At first, I told myself it was harmless. Just attention, just conversation. But the truth was uglier, I craved it. I came alive in ways I hadn't in years, and soon the harmless smiles became secret meetings, and those meetings turned into something I can't take back. I told myself Daniel wouldn't notice, that he was too consumed by work, by life, by his steady rhythm to realize I was slipping away. But he noticed. He always noticed. He didn't confront me right away, though. He just grew quieter, as if bracing for something he couldn't quite name. The affair didn't last long, but it burned bright enough to blind me. I was convinced Alex was what I needed, a reminder that I wasn't fading, that I could still choose excitement over security. I lied to myself, whispering that Daniel would never understand me, that I was justified in wanting more. The day I left was strangely quiet. Daniel didn't beg, didn't plead. He simply stood in the doorway, his eyes heavy but not angry. "If this is what you want," he said softly, "I won't stop you." His calmness cut deeper than any shouting could have. I packed my things, convincing myself that freedom waited on the other side of the door. But freedom was lonelier than I imagined. Alex was thrilling in stolen hours, but in the daylight, he was careless and self-absorbed. He didn't want a partner, he wanted an escape, just like I did. Only, unlike me, he wasn't leaving behind a family, a home, a love built over years. Within months, the fire fizzled, and I found myself discarded, a temporary chapter in his story. I thought I could crawl back, thought maybe Daniel would still be waiting with his steady hands and quiet devotion. But when I reached out, I realized something devastating. He had moved on. Not in anger, not in revenge, but with grace. He had poured himself into rebuilding his life. He started running marathons, reconnected with old friends, even smiled more in the few photos mutual acquaintances shared online. And then I saw her. A woman his age, kind-eyed and radiant. They weren't hiding, they weren't flaunting either. Just genuine happiness captured in candid moments. It hit me then, while I was chasing an illusion, Daniel had chosen healing. He had found love again, not in desperation, but in sincerity. The loneliness crept in like a disease. Nights were the hardest. I'd scroll through social media, seeing snippets of their life together. Holidays, dinners, laughter. Meanwhile, my apartment was silent, my phone still. The very freedom I craved had turned into a prison of isolation. The breaking point came one evening when I stumbled across an old photo album. It was tucked inside a box I hadn't opened since moving out, a collection of memories Daniel and I built over years. Vacations, birthdays, anniversaries. His smile was the same in every picture, steady, genuine, full of love I had once taken for granted. As I flipped through the pages, the weight of my betrayal crushed me. I had shattered something irreplaceable, not because Daniel failed me, but because I failed myself. I had mistaken routine for absence, comfort for neglect. I chased youth when what I really wanted was connection, and in that pursuit, I destroyed the very person who offered it freely. Tears blurred the photographs as I whispered apologies no one could hear. I thought of the nights Daniel had stayed up late after work to fix things around the house, the mornings he brewed my favorite coffee, the way he always made sure the car was fueled before my errands. Small acts I dismissed as ordinary were, in truth, extraordinary in their consistency. And now another woman got to experience those gestures. She hadn't betrayed him. She hadn't walked away. She had earned the love I had squandered. The silence of that night was unbearable. For the first time, I understood the depth of what I had lost, not just a husband, but a partner who had weathered storms with me, who had believed in me even when I doubted myself. Today, I live with the consequences of choices I once thought were harmless. My apartment is filled with echoes of regret, the walls lined with reminders of what I gave up. Daniel doesn't hate me. In fact, that might be the hardest part, his ability to forgive, to move on without bitterness. He's happy now, and though it breaks me to admit, he deserves every ounce of that happiness. I often wonder how different things might have been if I had chosen gratitude instead of restlessness, if I had poured my energy into rekindling the flame instead of chasing a spark elsewhere. But betrayal doesn't give second chances, it writes its lessons in scars. If you're listening to my story, let it be a warning. Don't trade a lifetime of love for a fleeting moment of validation. Don't mistake the quiet strength of commitment for weakness. Because one day, you may find yourself staring at the life you abandoned, only to realize it kept moving without you. And so I ask you, when the thrill fades and all that's left is silence, who will be standing beside you?